Okay, so we're diving into real estate today.
Lots to cover.
Yeah, we've got this huge stack of info you send over, um, lists of top real estate stocks, a deep dive on public water companies,
Right.
and then a whole breakdown of REITs. So, where should we even begin?
Well, I think REITs are a good place to start.
Yeah, REITs. Okay, so let's talk about that. I know you've been digging into those. What's so interesting about REITs?
Well, REITs, or real estate investment trusts, they're really appealing because they offer a way to get into real estate investing
Okay.
without actually having to own any property directly.
So, you don't have to be a landlord dealing with all that comes with that?
Exactly.
Wow.
No more late-night calls about leaky faucets or chasing down rent checks.
I can imagine that's a big plus for a lot of people.
It is. It is. With REITs, you're investing in companies that own and manage these properties, ideally with a lot of expertise.
So it's like you're outsourcing the landlord role to the pros.
Precisely. Plus, you get built-in diversification because REITs typically own a mix of different property types: apartments, shopping malls, office buildings, you name it.
Ah, so it's not all your eggs in one basket.
Exactly. And that helps to spread risk, which can lead to more stable returns over time.
Okay, that makes sense. And I see these sources highlighting high dividend yields. That's got to be a big draw for investors.
Oh, absolutely. Consistent income from your investments, who wouldn't want that? But there's something else really cool about REITs and their dividends.
Oh.
It's not just the high yields themselves, it's also the tax advantages they offer.
Okay, tell me more about that.
So REITs are actually required by law to distribute at least 90% of their taxable income to shareholders as dividends.
Wow, 90%? That's a lot.
It is. And what that means for investors is that those dividends are often taxed at your individual income tax rate.
Which could be lower than the corporate tax rate applied to other types of investments.
You got it. And to make things even sweeter, REIT dividends can potentially qualify for the Qualified Business Income QBI deduction.
Wait, hold on. So you're potentially paying less in taxes and getting these consistent dividend payouts? That sounds like a win-win to me.
Exactly. REITs have a lot to offer, especially from a tax efficiency standpoint.
Okay, that's really interesting. But how do you know how well a specific REIT is actually performing?
That's where benchmarks come in. In the world of REITs, the FTSE Narrate All Equity REITs Index is the gold standard.
I think I saw that mentioned in one of these sources. So that index basically tracks the performance of the entire U.S. REIT market.
Yep, you got it. Think of it as the S&P 500 for REITs. It gives you a way to compare how your individual REIT investments are stacking up against the broader sector.
So it's like a measuring stick. You can see if your REIT is a star performer or lagging behind the pack.
Precisely. And it gets even more insightful when you dig into the composition of the index.
Oh, how so?
Well, it covers a diverse range of REITs, spanning various sectors: office, residential, industrial, even those more niche areas like healthcare, data centers, and timber.
Ah, so it gives you a snapshot of how different parts of the real estate market are doing.
Exactly. You can get a sense of the overall health of specific sectors within the broader REIT universe.
Okay, that's really helpful context. Now, I noticed something as I was going through these top REITs lists you provided. Some names kept popping up again and again. Simon Property Group, Prologis, American Tower, they're everywhere. What's the deal with these REIT superstars?
Well, their consistent presence on these lists definitely suggests that they're worth a closer look.
Yeah, it's like they're the A-listers of the REIT world.
Right. It often points to a strong track record, a solid financial foundation, and perhaps something unique about their business models that's attracting attention.
Okay, let's take one example. American Tower Corporation, AMT, right. I see them mentioned in a couple of these sources. What do they do?
They own and operate cell towers. And with the explosion of mobile data and 5G networks, they're in a prime position to benefit from that growth.
Ah, so it's like investing in the infrastructure of our increasingly digital lives. That's a pretty cool angle.
It is. It's a great example of how understanding a company's business model can give you insights into its potential for growth and profitability.
Okay, so we've dug into REITs quite a bit, but we also have these lists of public water companies and office real estate stocks. Why did those catch your attention?
Well, with water companies, it's hard to ignore the growing awareness of resource scarcity.
Right, water is essential. And with climate change and population growth?
Exactly. Access to clean, reliable water is only going to become more critical in the coming years.
So you're thinking about investing in companies that are providing a vital resource.
Precisely. And not just providing it, but also treating it, managing it responsibly, and ensuring its long-term sustainability.
I'm seeing a theme here. it's not just about chasing profits. It's about investing in companies that are addressing some of the biggest challenges we're facing as a society.
You got it. Now, those office real estate stocks, that's where things get really interesting.
Yeah, with so many people working remotely now, I'm curious about how that's impacting the office sector.
It's a big question mark, right? Is the traditional office model dead? Are we all going to be working from home forever?
I mean, I don't have the answer to that.
Nobody does.
Yeah.
But that uncertainty is exactly what makes it so interesting to explore.
Okay, so what should we be looking for as we dig into these office real estate stocks?
Well, I'm particularly curious about the companies that are adapting to the changing demands of the workforce.
So not just clinging to the old ways of doing things.
Exactly. Are they embracing flexible work arrangements? Are they creating spaces that foster collaboration and innovation, even in a hybrid work environment?
It seems like the office of the future is going to look a lot different than the office of the past.
I think you're right. And the companies that can anticipate those changes and create spaces that meet the needs of the modern workforce will be the ones that come out on top.
Okay, so we set the stage. REITs, water companies, office real estate, lots to unpack there. But before we dive deeper into specific companies and opportunities,
I'm ready when you are.
all right, let's do it. But first, a quick word from our sponsors. So we were talking about these public water companies.
Oh, yeah. Fascinating stuff.
Yeah, and you were saying how they're like on the front lines of this growing challenge of resource scarcity, especially with water.
Exactly. With populations increasing and climate change throwing curveballs at us,
Yeah,
clean, accessible water is becoming more and more valuable, like the new gold.
I've heard that. The new oil too, right?
Oh, for sure. And the thing is, these water companies aren't just like standing still.
Hmm.
They're having to innovate and evolve constantly.
Right, it's not just about digging wells and laying pipes anymore.
Yeah. Definitely not. They're investing in like cutting edge technologies to optimize treatment, reduce waste.
Make sure that water is actually safe and drinkable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're also dealing with aging infrastructure. Those old pipes that are like crumbling.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Big problem. So, yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes to like make sure we have reliable water. And that's where the investment opportunity lies.
Okay, so you mentioned American Water Works earlier. They seem to be like the biggest player in the U.S.
Oh, yeah, they're huge.
Yeah, 15 million people they serve. So what are they doing to make sure all those people have water, especially with climate change adding to the strain?
Well, they're like investing a ton in infrastructure upgrades, replacing those old leaky pipes, modernizing treatment plants, stuff like that.
Keeping up with the times?
Right. And they're, adopting those high-tech solutions we were talking about to like boost efficiency and reduce waste. And on top of that, they're also big on water conservation efforts, educating the public, implementing programs to help people use less water.
So it's not just about delivering water, it's about managing it responsibly.
Exactly. They're taking a pretty holistic approach, which, for a long-term investment, that's reassuring.
Yeah, they're playing the long game, anticipating future challenges and trying to get ahead of them.
Exactly. And that kind of foresight, that's what you want to see in a company you're considering investing in.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. So we've got these water companies providing a vital resource, tackling these big challenges. It's pretty compelling.
Definitely.
Okay, let's switch gears back to those office real estate stocks. I'm still kind of hung up on this whole remote work thing. Like, is the traditional office model actually dead?
Well, it's definitely going through a transformation, that's for sure.
Right.
But I don't think the office is dead. It's more like it's, evolving.
Adapting.
Exactly. Think about it. The way we work is changing. And the spaces where we work have got to change too, right?
So it's not just about, like, office or no office anymore. It's about what that office actually looks like and how it functions.
Precisely. Those old, cubicle farms, they just don't cut it anymore. Today's workers, they're looking for something different.
More flexibility, more...
Inspiration. Spaces that, like, foster collaboration, creativity, and a sense of community.
So it's almost like the office has to become a destination, not just a place you're obligated to go to.
You got it. It's got to be a place where people want to be. A place that offers something more than just a desk and a chair.
Okay, I'm starting to see it now. So which companies are getting this right? Who's like leading the way and creating these new kinds of workspaces?
Well, one company that comes to mind is Alexandria Real Estate Equities.
I've heard of them.
Yeah, they're interesting. They specialize in those like cutting-edge office and lab spaces, mostly for the life sciences industry.
Ah, those are the ones with like the super high-tech labs and those cool collaborative spaces.
Exactly. They're really focused on creating an environment that, fosters innovation and attracts top talent.
So they're not just building buildings, they're building ecosystems almost.
That's a good way to put it. They're thinking about the whole experience, from the labs and workspaces to the amenities like fitness centers, restaurants, even outdoor areas where people can relax and connect.
So it's like they're trying to create a community, a place where people want to spend time.
Exactly. And that's what makes them stand out. They're not just providing space, they're creating an environment that enhances the way people work.
It's fascinating how real estate is becoming so interconnected with so many other aspects of our lives, you know?
Oh, totally. Technology, sustainability, the future of work, it's all woven together.
Yeah, it's not just about bricks and mortar anymore. It's about the experience, the impact these spaces have on people, on the environment.
You got it. Real estate is a reflection of our values, our aspirations, our way of life. And as the world changes, so does the role of real estate.
Okay, so we've got REITs, we've got water, we've got these evolving office spaces. But there's one piece of the puzzle we haven't really talked about yet, the role of location in real estate investing.
Ah, yes. The age-old mantra.
Yeah.
Location, location, location.
Right. It's still as relevant as ever.
Oh, absolutely. Location influences like everything in real estate. Demand, property values, even the regulations you'll be dealing with.
Okay, break that down for me. How does location affect those things specifically?
Well, think about it. Properties in those highly desirable areas with strong economies, good schools, low crime.
Yeah, those places everyone wants to live.
Exactly. Those properties, they tend to command higher prices, both for sale and rent. Basic supply and demand, right? Limited supply, high demand, prices go up.
Makes sense. So it's not just about the building itself, it's about where that building is situated within a larger context.
Precisely. You're investing in the neighborhood, the community, the future trajectory of that location. And that can have a huge impact on your returns.
So location affects demand and property values. What about those regulations you mentioned?
Oh, yeah, that's a big one. You see, local regulations can make or break a real estate investment.
In what way?
Well, things like zoning laws, building codes, property taxes, environmental regulations.
Right, all that stuff.
Exactly. They can vary wildly from one place to another. Some locations are super investor friendly, while others can be a real headache.
So you got to do your homework.
Big time. You need to understand the specific rules of the game in each location before you even think about putting your money down.
Okay, so it's not just about finding a great property. It's about finding a great property in the right location where all the stars align, so to speak.
Exactly. It's like solving a puzzle. Finding that perfect spot where opportunity and feasibility meet.
Now, looking at the companies on your list, I see some pretty clear geographical patterns, like Boston Properties and SL Green Realty Corp. They're both heavily invested in New York City, right?
Yeah, New York, it's a unique beast. High stakes, high rewards.
Right. It's a global hub, tons of businesses and people.
Exactly. That constant influx drives demand for real estate, which, can lead to those juicy returns.
But it's also super expensive, right? And competitive.
Oh, for sure. But New York real estate also has this long history of resilience. It's weathered storms before, and it always seems to bounce back.
So it's like you're betting on the city's ability to adapt and thrive, even in the face of challenges.
Exactly. And for some investors, that's a risk they're willing to take.
Okay, then we've got companies like Kilroy Realty Corporation, and they're focused on those West Coast markets, San Francisco, Los Angeles, Seattle.
Ah, the tech hubs.
Right. So how does that tech-driven economy shape the real estate landscape in those areas?
Well, those cities, they're magnets for innovation and entrepreneurship. They attract those highly skilled workers, the engineers, the designers, the entrepreneurs.
One's driving the tech boom.
Exactly. And all those people need places to live and work, which, fuels demand for both residential and commercial real estate. And then you have the venture capital flowing in, new businesses popping up left and right.
It's like a whole ecosystem built around technology.
It is.
Yeah.
And that creates this dynamic energy, a sense that things are constantly changing and evolving.
But those West Coast markets, they're also facing challenges, right? Like affordability, housing shortages.
Oh, absolutely. There's a lot of competition.
Yeah.
And things can get pricey. And you have to consider those local regulations, which can be, complex.
Right. So each city, each region, it has its own unique dynamics that investors need to be aware of.
Exactly. It's not a one-size-fits-all kind of thing.
Okay, so we've got New York, we've got those West Coast tech hubs, each with their own unique flavor. But, we can't talk about real estate today without talking about technology, right? I mean, It's transforming everything.
Oh yeah, tech is a game changer. The way we buy, sell, manage, invest in real estate, it's all being disrupted.
And you mentioned Zillow and Redfin earlier.
Yep. Those are the big names everyone knows.
Right. But how do they actually fit into this whole investment landscape? Are they just websites where you look at houses, or is there more to it?
Oh, there's way more to it.
Yeah.
They've completely changed the way we approach real estate. They've brought transparency to the market, giving buyers and sellers access to information that was like hidden before.
Right. You don't have to rely on a real estate agent to tell you what a house is worth anymore.
Exactly. And it's not just about listings. They're using technology to like analyze massive amounts of data, track market trends, and even offer financial services.
It's like they're building these whole real estate ecosystems online.
That's a great way to put it. They're becoming these one-stop shops for everything real estate, from searching for a home to getting a mortgage to even, selling your house.
And Zillow, they've even gotten into iBuying, right? Where they directly buy and sell homes themselves.
Yeah, that was a big move. It's still early days, but it has the potential to like really shake up the market.
It's fascinating how technology is like blurring the lines between traditional real estate companies and tech companies.
It is, and that's creating some really interesting investment opportunities. But it also makes it harder to like categorize these companies. Are they tech companies? Are they real estate companies?
It's kind of both, right?
Yeah, it's a hybrid. And as investors, we need to be able to look beyond those traditional labels and really understand the underlying business models, the revenue streams, the growth potential.
So we can't just assume that because a company is doing something innovative, it's automatically a good investment.
Exactly. We have to dig deeper, understand the risks and opportunities, and make informed decisions based on the data.
Okay, I think that's a great point to pause on for now. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, exploring different aspects of real estate, from REITs to water to technology, but there's still so much more to unpack. We'll be back after a quick break to continue our exploration.
Okay, so we've talked about a lot of really interesting things.
Yeah, we've covered a lot of ground. REITs, water companies, the future of office spaces, the impact of location.
Yeah, don't forget technology.
Oh, right. Tech is a huge factor, too. But there's one more piece I want to circle back to, sustainability.
Yes. That's becoming increasingly important in the real estate world,
Yeah, and it's not just about those public water companies we discussed earlier.
Right. Sustainability is impacting all corners of the real estate sector these days. Investors are like really starting to pay attention to this.
So what does that look like in practice? How are real estate companies actually incorporating sustainability into their operations?
Well, for starters, we're seeing a huge push towards like energy efficient buildings.
Yeah, those LEED certified buildings, right?
Exactly. LEED and other green building certifications are becoming like a big deal.
Because they're better for the environment.
Well, yes, that's a huge part of it. But it's also good business sense.
Oh, how so?
Well, think about it. Green buildings, they typically use less energy, which means lower operating costs.
That makes sense.
And they can also command higher rents, because tenants are increasingly looking for those sustainable options.
So it's like a win-win. It's good for the planet and good for the bottom line.
Precisely. And it goes beyond just the buildings themselves,
Oh, in what way?
Well, we're also seeing a focus on like sustainable materials, using things like recycled content, sustainably harvested wood, that kind of thing.
So it's about the entire life cycle of the building, from construction to operation.
Exactly. And then you have the whole community aspect, like, are these developments promoting walkability? Are they close to public transportation? Do they incorporate green spaces?
So it's not just about the building itself, it's about how that building fits into the larger environment and community.
Exactly. It's a holistic approach to real estate, and investors are definitely taking notice.
Okay, so we're seeing those LED buildings, sustainable materials, community-focused developments. Are there any companies that are really leading the way in this space?
Oh yeah, there are quite a few. But one that really stands out to me is Hannon Armstrong Sustainable Infrastructure Capital.
That's a mouthful.
It is. But they're doing some really interesting things. They're not a typical real estate company.
Oh, how so?
Well, they focus specifically on financing sustainable infrastructure projects.
So they're not actually building the buildings themselves?
Nope. They're providing the capital for those projects. Things like renewable energy installations, energy efficiency upgrades, water infrastructure improvements.
So they're kind of like the financial backbone of this sustainability movement in real estate.
Exactly. They're connecting investors with those projects that are making a real difference.
Mm.
And they're proving that sustainability and profitability can go hand in hand.
That's really cool. It's inspiring to see how investors are using their money to make a positive impact.
It is. And it's not just about the big institutional investors.
Right. Individual investors can get involved.
Absolutely. Every
Wow.
dollar invested is a vote for the kind of world we want to create.
And with so much information available these days, it's easier than ever to make informed choices.
Exactly. You can research companies, understand their sustainability practices, and invest in those that align with your values.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I think the biggest takeaway for me is that the real estate world is changing.
It's evolving.
Yeah, it's becoming more sustainable, more technology-driven, more focused on the needs of people and communities.
And it's creating some really exciting investment opportunities along the way.
Exactly. So for our listeners, whether you're a seasoned investor or just starting out, it's an incredible time to be exploring the world of real estate.
Don't be afraid to, dig in, do your research, and find those investments that resonate with you.
And remember, investing is not just about making money, it's about making a difference.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on this journey. We hope this deep dive has given you some valuable insights and inspiration as you navigate the exciting world of real estate investing.
Thanks for having me.
And to our listeners, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.